Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel and podcast. And we are back for your first match reaction of Newcastle United's 2023-2024 campaign. I am Chris, joined by Scott. And Scott, let's just dive straight into it. So, Gateshead played host today for Newcastle's first pre-season. We do have another one coming up in just a few days' time as well at Glasgow Rangers. But first one out of the way, Scott, and let's just go through the starting lineup first of all. I think with the starting lineup, we were probably expecting something similar. It's always a bit of a mixture. The team news came out, and nobody really knew who was playing where. Or I think Kieran Trippier had a spell in midfield at one point as well.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a mixed match of players playing in there in regards to lineup, and it's something which you just expect with pre-season now, isn't it?
It is. I mean, yeah, you had Trippier, Manquillo on one side, and you had Target and Lewis on the other side, and you think, well, hang on, there's two left backs, two right backs, and Dan Burns thrown in that mix. Are we playing six at the back? Like, what's going on? But yeah, as you said, it seemed to be that Trippier came into that centre midfield role, and was it Lewis filled in on kind of the left wing.
Yeah.
Or just behind. He was. I think he was also playing in the middle a little bit. But yeah, him and Elliot Anderson were kind of playing on the left a little bit there. But yeah, like you say, it's pre-season. They've been back 4 days, I think, and some of them even less.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't expecting to see you likes of Bruno, Joe Linton, even Callum Wilson, because you saw the video that the club released yesterday. They've only just got back into training. Some of them aren't even ready. To play. So yeah, it was the only surprise for me, if I'm going to be honest, was Darlow. I didn't expect Darlow to play. I thought he'd go through Karius and Gillespie or Dubravka.
Yeah, it's a show.
Obviously, there were three kind of behind Pope, and then you're expecting Darlow to maybe be moved on this season.
Yeah, you would expect that 100%. Yeah, 100%. I don't think Darlow will feature in this campaign for us. Obviously, he might get a couple of pre-season games there, but he's not going to be a regular feature. Like we saw last year, he went out on loan, and you would be thinking that the club are looking at selling him, not loaning him this season, but selling. And he probably deserves that move as well, mate, because he's a decent goalkeeper at the end of the day. One of the players I want to highlight, and just anybody watching or listening to this one right now, it's going to be very brief. This, okay? It's not your typical match reaction. We'll go through the in-depth of game, but Maxi had a kind of a free role across that front three. He seemed to be finding himself everywhere. I'd say typically from what I've seen in the game today, he was playing as a striker most of it.
Yeah, it was almost like a false nine. He was almost like playing. You would play him off the back of a striker, but there wasn't anyone in front of him. So I think the problem we're seeing, and we've seen this in the first half with the, with the scoreline and with the lack of goals from our end, was there was nobody really getting into that box because Maxi was coming deep to get the ball, turning, passing it, playing it, running. But then there's no one in front of him where he should have been that man. But yeah, change it in the second half. We'll come to that in a bit. But yeah, it was almost a free roll for him. And like I say, him and Elliot Anderson were kind of the two focal points up front, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing when you talk about a focal point up front, because neither of them are particularly tall. They're not really good at holding the ball up. They're not that sort of player, but it's kind of what they went with. But like you say, I think with this game, we've said it before, it wasn't so much about the performance. It was more really about just getting minutes in the legs, getting gas in the tank, and just, having a run out, getting those players back on the field and seeing what they can do.
Yeah, you're right, mate. And the commentators mentioned it throughout, and the commentators were pretty funny as well.
Yeah, it was good.
It was more characters, and I'm not sure who else was the main commentator, but they were quite funny throughout there, basically picking them, taking the make out of each other for getting the pronunciations of the players wrong. Manquillo was a perfect, and Taggart were the two.
Taggart back from last pre-season. Do you remember when we played last pre-season? They had Taggart as well. So yeah, he's come back to make his comeback.
They had a good laugh throughout that one. In regards to the game, Scott, Newcastle, as we saw last season, they like to play with the ball on the deck, and we saw that a lot. And the 2 goals that were conceded, it became, those happened because of errors. The first one being Longstaff God knows, just hesitating on the ball with the ball on every studs, and just comes and they nick the ball off him and just took that away. And it happened throughout that first half where, and all credit to Gateshead, because their high press was great. They just didn't give us an inch in our back four, back five, really. In the second one, once again, the second goal, it's just errors, isn't it?
It is. I mean, that first goal, like you say, I think we win the ball back, and Longstaff thinks he's got more time than he has, tries to turn with it, and there's a player there to nick it off him. Unfortunately, it's right on the edge of his own box, and they're then through, and it's, I don't say it's an easy goal, but you'd expect a striker to finish that. No matter what level of football they're playing, and if you want them on with the goalkeeper, you put the odds in the striker's hands for most of the time. And then that second one, it was just a number of mistakes, I think, individually, and then Darlow didn't really do much favours coming out like he did, and didn't win the ball. And then they just had I think it was their number 9 who was just lurking on the edge of the box and made that run in when Darlow come out. Ball falls to him, and he just again puts it home. They were getting a few balls in over the top of us. They had a bit of pace up front, which we had Dan Burn and Dan
Burn made a couple of strange decisions. I would put it as once again, another player that was just dispossessed with the ball at his feet far too often throughout that.
I think as well, he's playing centre back.
Yeah,
and you've got to think he hasn't played centre back for a season. That'll be. I mean, it shouldn't be alien to him, but if you're used to playing left back and you've been playing that all the time, to be put back in left back just instantly is just kind of okay. And given the fact, like you say, it's first game of pre-season, you're not really 100% switched on, both physically and mentally. So it was a funny one, but he did. He made a couple of mistakes. Got a lot better when he moved into left back in the second half, which I think that's more his position now. I know people say he's a centre back first, left back second, but I think, looking at him today, and we can't take much from what we've seen today because, like I say, what the type of game it was, but he just seems a bit more comfortable in that left back role.
Yeah, like you said, it's only 45 minutes, and Dan Burn, we've said that Dan Burn will probably get moved into the centre back position if we do get a new left back come in this transfer window, but centre back as a backup at this moment in time, because Fabian Shaw and Sven Botman are got your first two at the back there. I think as the game went on, and actually, when we went out half time there, were you worried? Because I was thinking, yes, it's pre-season, but it's a bit of a poor display of this so far.
I mean, you don't want to lose any pre-season game, and especially not against a National League side. And no disrespect to Gateshead, I mean, you just don't. Like, you're a Champions League side, not even just a Premier League side now. We're going into the Champions League, and you're just thinking, okay, yes, the lineup is, I think there was 4 first-team players on the pitch, or maybe it's 5. And that's me not including the likes of Richie, Manquillo, and Jamal Lewis, because they're not first-team players. They're backup, and I think Lewis didn't even get in the squad last season or the season before.
To be fair, I think you have to, just because you mentioned his name there, Lewis. He doesn't look like a great player, mate. He doesn't.
He grew into the game. He looked very shaky to begin with. I thought second half he did a little bit better. I think they moved him a little bit further up the field. And he did get, him and Maxi were linking up okay in that second half. But I think that was when Maxi turned it on. And I'm sure we'll come to that in a bit. But Maxi kind of flicked his switch or went into second gear, whatever it was, and started to command the game a bit more. And I think that just gave Lewis a bit more confidence to make his runs. But I remember he had a chance, which he should have
put it in. Maxi put it on a plate and he just missed
the ball completely.
So,
but again, that'll be. I mean, you've got to think he hasn't played football for a season. Like, he hasn't played first team football because he hasn't been in the squad and he's been injured as well. So, you can give a little bit of slack, but I think the player that we thought we were getting, we haven't got. When we're saying Jamal Lewis.
You mentioned the partnership that you had with Maxi. I think the good mates off the field as well. Them two lads. And Maxi, I thought he had a decent game in the first half as well. You mentioned the second half, but Maxi was just skipping past players left, right, and centre, and he was doing. It was the Maxi of old where he would turn his back on the player and just do a loop around, then try it again and try it again. Every single time it was working, and you would expect it, like you said, against the likes of a National League team, you would expect Maxi to have a field day with them. He was making them look like kids half the time. But then as the game went on, second half, it was the whole different match in regards to everything he was doing. What was coming off everything.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they moved him out to the left and they put Elliot Anderson in the middle, and that just suited both of them down to the ground. I mean, Maxi assisted Elliot's the first goal from Elliot Anderson. Again, getting to the byline. I think there was one play where he got the byline and he just kind of went through a player like he wasn't even there. It's kind of like a glitch in FIFA where you just go through the player. Unreal. But yeah, I mean, to go back to Maxi on the first half, there was a couple of times where he was getting a bit frustrated, where the ball wasn't coming to him early enough, and he was getting offside a little bit. And he did seem a little slow, the beginning of that first half, and I think that's just rust, and you get rid of that, pretty quickly, and he seemed to pick it up. And like I say, second half, like we've been talking about there, totally different player, and putting him in a different position works. I think we've seen enough from Maxi now to know that him playing down the middle as a striker doesn't work. He's not that type of player, and I think he'd probably be the first to admit that himself. He's either a 10 playing off someone, or he's left or right wing. Yeah. But like I say, move him out there, and it just transformed his game a little bit. And like I say, he set up Anderson for his first goal, and he got a goal which Anderson returned the favour. Which again, I mean, yes, it was a bit of a tap in, but you've seen players miss those.
Yeah.
All last season we saw players miss those. So still a lot to do, but he took it well in the end. That second goal.
So Eddie Howe made mass changes not too long after that when Newcastle are 2-2, and the all the youngsters come on, every single one of them coming on. I think the only players left on the field were like the senior players were maybe Mankiw and Dan Burn at one point.
I think it was Incarius and goal.
Okay. Yeah. So there's mass changes there. And I think at that point we thought the game will quieten down now. But I think at that point we then went and dominated even more in that second half. The lads which were out there had a great 30 minutes on the field. 25,
yeah, I think someone put in our group chat going, okay, this will be game over now. The youngsters are coming on. It'll just pedal out. But actually, if anything, we played better. Like you can tell those lads play with each other. And they're regularly playing with each other because they seem to just click a little bit better. I think the only player that they probably wouldn't have played with much was probably Ashby. I don't know how much time he gets on the under-21s, but
with his injuries as well last season. He was
and his injuries, but Lewis Miley, I mean, he took the captain's armband. First of all, that's quite a big thing for a lad of his age to do. Even just against Gateshead, it's still a massive thing for him. Very confident on the ball, and his assist for that third goal was
a great goal, wasn't
it? It was a great pass, and hats off to Turner Cook as well. It was a really good finish. Because again, you see those just, well, I would say rosette, but there wasn't a rosette in Gateshead International Stadium, so you'd see them just fly into the tyne in that stadium probably. But it was good. It was he just seemed to fit in, and he just seemed comfortable. And him getting that the professional contract before the end of last season, he's probably going to feature a fair amount for the first team. Maybe he's in like League Cup, FA Cup early rounds. He'll definitely be named in the Champions League squad because he's going to be one of our homegrown. He's going to be one of the four that are the homegrown, the talents. You'd imagine anyway, unless we bring someone back or someone else comes through. But yeah, I was impressed with him. I think also when he came on at half time, it was Alex Murphy. He looked pretty decent in defence as well. He looked quite solid. He didn't really put a foot wrong. And the rest, like I said, I don't think they had enough time to really kind of showcase what they could do. But yeah, it's you'd expect though pre-season a lot of the youngsters. I think we talked about it on Canny Chatter this week. Like we'd expect a lot of the youngsters to come through, and especially the ones who we're going to expect to, maybe feature a little bit either on the bench or get a few minutes here and there in the league and in the cup. And like I say, it turned out there was 11 of them out there by the end of the game. 10 minus the keeper.
I'm not going to lie. There was at one moment where I thought this game may have got called off in that second half because the weather was biblical, and I don't think it came across as bad as what it was on the stream, which was going. Looking out your window and seeing it happen firsthand, honestly, Scott, it was ridiculous, the downpour that we had. We had thunder and lightning, and like I said, it was biblical. And there was at one point where the ball just wasn't rolling. But kicking the ball, then it rolled a couple of times, and that was it, dead. And I thought, we're running the risk here of, one, this pitch getting absolutely ripped to shreds with players sliding in. Two, possible injuries to players as well, which you don't want to see in pre-season. You don't want to see it at all now, mind pre-season. So I thought the referee may have had a discussion at one point if there was another downpour en route, thinking, shall we just call it a game and end this one? Game continued, and luckily for us, we'll manage to claw back and get, obviously, the victory at the end of the day. But like we said at the very start there, it wasn't about winning this game. It was more about getting minutes for these lads and getting them back into the routine of playing football. And that's all that pre-season is.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the start of this, we've got Rangers in, what is it, on Tuesday?
Tuesday.
I mean, that's 2 games in a short period of time. You'd expect Eddie Howe would have told them, like, just go out and, just, this is a training exercise, really. I think it maybe turned into a bit more of that. It actually was a fairly decent game. I think once Gateshead kind of started bringing it to us, some of the players out there were like, oh, okay, then we're playing let's go. And you kind of saw a little bit of reaction. I think Rangers will be different. Although it is a testimonial game, I think we'll see maybe it's the likes of Bruno, Joe Linton, maybe even see Tonali get his first run out, or first few minutes, maybe it's in the second half. I
think what we will see,
first team players.
I think what we'll see is kind of the same starting 11 of what we did today, a bit of a mixture and everything. But at the point where we saw today all the youngsters come on, I think you'll see more of this. The more senior players get a couple of minutes, and the likes of Bruno and Julian get 20 minutes out of the game or something like that. I would expect that. Then not long after that, the lads are straight away on the tour of America as well.
It's after US, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was looking as well. So them US games are on like 3-4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because of especially the Atlanta, I think the Chelsea game's on 2 in the morning, something like that. So there'll be jet lag. There'll be all sorts going on through that tournament.
And we'll not be doing much reactions at that time in the morning.
Absolutely not. No. And then they're straight back for the Salah Cup. I think the Salah Cup's 5th of August.
It's the first weekend in August, I believe. Yeah.
And then the season's back up and running the weekend after. So there's not, it doesn't seem like there's long left, although it's like almost a month away.
5 weeks, is it now?
But there's a lot of football in between these 5 weeks. And I think it's good that we're doing it because we're going to be playing Champions League. We're going to be playing 2 games a week. We're going to, playing on the Sunday, then maybe it's on the Wednesday or whatever. So it's good that we're doing this. It's good that we're kind of overloaded by friendlies.
It's a fair
going up against some fairly decent opposition as well. Like, the Gateshead game, it's great what we've done for Gateshead Club to get that. And I think the commentator said, look, this was Eddie Howe and Ashworth wanted this to happen.
So if people don't know, Gateshead got every single penny from that game today.
Yeah.
And that was obviously ticket sales along with it. It was 10 quid, I think, to stream the channel today as well. Yeah. So everything went down, obviously, Gateshead revenue as well, which is great from the club. I think we've done it before in the past with somebody else. I can't remember which team, but I've done it with maybe Darlington, it might have been. Can't remember. But there was another one where we've just obviously said, there we go, lads, that's all yours. And it's great for the club to do that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the amount of money, for Gateshead, it's a huge amount. For us, it's probably a drop in the ocean. Like it's nothing. So it's nice that they do it. You wouldn't expect that to have happened under the previous ownership, given the penny pinching that was going on back then. But it's nice to do. Obviously, that roof on that stand that you saw out there needs rebuilt. I think they mentioned it blew off in the wind. I don't know if that was a joke or if that actually happened, but anything we can do to help get that back up and running, because I think the second half, just after half time, you just saw that empty and everyone was stood right at the back. A lot of people went home. I know a few of our lot did.
Yeah, when you a couple of our lads, because of the weather, a couple of our lads just was not sitting in this, because honestly, it was torrential. It was ridiculous the way that rain came down. That's us done for our match reaction. Let us know what you thought of the game. If you're impressed by any single player in there, or if any player let themselves down in that 90 minutes of football. We are back full throttle now, Scott. Season ahead of us. So we'll be back with match previews, match reactions, starting lineup predictions, podcast on a Monday night. Scott hosts Canny Chatter every 2 weeks. We've got Andy Sixsmith, who's starting his podcast as well towards the end of this month. So we are non-stop. If you do want some content slightly earlier than everybody else, it is just $2.99 a month to become a member too, and that gets you access to the Telegram group. If you don't want to do that, just become a subscriber. It costs you absolutely nothing to do that. And if you don't want to do that, just like the video. That's all that we ask from you. Thanks very much, everybody. See you later.